Hello and welcome back to Strange Antiquities. In this video, I am going to get endings 3 and 4. I've already done a playthrough of this game and I got ending 7 initially. Then I reloaded and went back and I've done endings 2 and 8, which you can see in videos on my Strange Antiquities playlist. But today we're going to try for 3 and 4. I think I need to reload back to day 18 of my playthrough. And in that playthrough, I gave Audrey Bell the Fortinance on day 12. That is required in order to do endings 3 and 4. So if you didn't do that, you won't have the option, but I did, and she gave me this note about the Sacrament. Is a baptism ceremony in which one's life is pledged to the warrior god Holgar. It is performed by a blood priest within a stone circle. And then it has this little riddle here. In spring, a charm of green growth. In summer, a pendant of the yellow sun. In autumn, an instrument of the red night. In winter, a totem of blue fire. Now, I didn't want to pledge my life to the warrior god Holgar in my playthrough. It just wasn't the ending I wanted. But I'm going to go ahead and do it this time just to see what happens. Now, she had stopped by the shop and said that when the lake turned black, then I would know it was time. So let me go ahead and have Eli come in. He's going to chat with me. He's going to say that the museum was ransacked, but he hid the Nalean Casket here in the shop, and I've got to get it. I'll need Carrick's candle. I'll need the shadow anchor. And I'll need the witch's finger here. I'll wait till he's done talking. Okay. Thanks, Eli. We're not going to do Eli's ending, but there's the clue that he gave us. It says a candle that gives off no light, an anchor that has never touched the ocean, and a finger but not of flesh. So that's why we've got the candle, the anchor, and the witch's finger. That will open this area of the shop where he's hidden the casket. Now, I had already accidentally found this area. It was kind of a weird accident. I just happened to be moving objects around and I put these 3 down here and it opened up. So I've already done the moon puzzle for this area. So I can just grab the casket. Let's have the mailman show up and tell us that the lake has turned black. And I think that's our cue to go do the Holgar ceremony. So we need to go to a stone circle. And I believe that's right here, the eye. It's a strange arrangement of rocks resembling the Stonehenge site, but on a smaller scale, arranged with purpose. Though what that purpose was remains a mystery. The locals call it the Eye. There's nothing else to see here. Really? There aren't any other stone circles, are there? Oh, there's the Bleak stones at 24. All right, let's try going there. Oh, that was it. Okay, we had to go to the Bleak Stones. As I approached the island in a small rowing boat, I noticed a shrouded figure standing watching me from the shore. The priest. She is lit by flickering orange torchlight, which deepens the red of her cloak and makes her look taller and more threatening somehow. For a brief moment, the dim lighting and her dark eyeshadow make me think that she is one of them, but the flame flickers across the whites of her eyes as I get closer and the moment passes. Welcome. Do you have the sacrament? I nod, and she helps steady the boat as I climb out. Together, we walk slowly up the small beach in search of the Bleak stones, a small ring made up of slabs of gray slate, the largest of which, the King's Stone, is only waist height. It is not hard to find. Fear hits my gut as we get closer, and I see something I had not expected. Spread out around the perimeter of the stones are dozens of the priest's followers, standing motionless, their heads bowed. The casket will be opened, and when it is, we alone shall be spared Holgar's wrath. Her followers let out a cheer that is more of a bloodthirsty roar. The priest gestures towards the 4 stone plinths arranged in a semicircle in the center of the ring of slate. Arrange the sacrament while I prepare. Okay, so her note says, in spring, a charm of green growth. And if we look at the symbology book, spring is represented by a leaf. Summer is the sun. Autumn is, I guess, an acorn. And winter is a snowflake. So we need a charm of green growth. Well, there's the Scythian charm that's used by horticulturists to encourage plants to thrive. And that's this one here with the leaves on it. So we'll put that there. And then in summer, a pendant of the yellow sun. It's probably the sun bond. Because the sun bond carries the warmth and light of the sun. In autumn, an instrument of the red night. Well, I remember there was an object that mentioned the red night in the description, but I don't know which one it was. Red Knight. There it is. Weaving Edge. It should be made from the wood of a great oak. I think it's this one. I haven't formally identified it in this playthrough, in this, particular timeline yet. But I did identify it in my previous playthrough, so I'm going to go with that. And then in winter, a totem of blue fire. Wasn't there an object that made the flames glow blue when we used a candle around it? Maybe they're talking about... Oh. It's one of these? Which one? No, come down here. I couldn't tell which one it was. I'll just... Okay, it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one. It's this one. Okay. The Vestiger. Alright, we'll put that one in the winter spot and use them. As I have been preparing the sacrament, the priest has built a small pyre of tightly packed wood about waist height next to the largest of the stones. I hear a raucous cry and then another and another. I join the congregation in looking up to see a swirling mass of black shapes, ravens. The priest produces a mask from within her cloak and places it over her face. The imposing atmosphere builds in intensity, and I take a deep breath to calm my pulse. Let us begin. Oh, she's wearing that mask that we had in the shop. As she says these words, the damp pyre erupts into flame, whether by some trick or magic I couldn't say. But the priest with her torch is some distance away. Her dark eyes sparkle behind the pale mask. Great Holgar, I bring you light and life. I bring you spring and summer, autumn and winter on this day of reckoning. A rhythmic chanting begins to sound across the circle. And now the casket. Her eyes lock with mine, and I feel suddenly weak under her gaze. She reaches out a hand expectantly. How does she know I have the casket? The chanting dies and is replaced by awed whispers as the acolytes catch on. I flounder, not knowing what to do, but I decide the only thing I can do is surrender to her power. I'll give her the Nalean Casket. I kneel and offer up the Nalean Casket to the priest. I have waited a long time for this moment. She takes the casket from me and places it reverentially atop the kingstone. As she turns to face me, I feel a sudden chill down my spine. She is holding the weaving edge. Holgar, I give you this gift of life that is not mine to give. Cold fear grips me as I realize how naive I have been. She didn't bring me here to be saved by Holgar's protective embrace. She brought me as a sacrifice. She advances calmly towards me with the blade held at her side. Pale mask, wet with rain and shining in the light from the pyre. The chanting rises in volume and intensity. I must act quickly. I can use Saint Cedric's Thunder or Corvan's Might. Alright, well let's check out what Saint Cedric's Thunder is. Do I have that? I do. Used to store the power of a single thunderclap, alchemists have been trying to harness this power for centuries, and there are rumors that some have indeed successfully used it to transmute base metals into gold. They are placed on the tops of mountains to charge them during storms. Okay, so if I use that, does that mean I'm calling down lightning? And then what's the other option? Corvan's Might. Well, if I remember correctly, a Corvan's Might was given to the Bloody Queen to help her win a battle. Called the Eagle's Gift. It's an assassin's tool that makes use of Wixic power. When the warrior queen Corvan was surrounded and close to defeat, a gift came to her from an unlikely source. With it, she turned the tide of battle and the legend of the Bloody Queen was born. So I could call down lightning on everyone, or I could use the Corvan's Might to try to stop everyone. Well, let's start with Saint Cedric's Thunder. I think that's over here with the thunder rune on it. Let's see what happens. I bring out the small wooden box as the priest lunges towards me. There is no time to think, so I rip open the lid and let loose the power contained within. An almighty thunderclap erupts from the box in my hands, and a flash of bright white blinds me for a moment. When I recover, I see devastation before me. Thin white smoke and the smell of ozone fill the air. The king's stone is cracked in two, and a twisted body lays on the ground nearby. But to my horror, the priest is unharmed, standing next to the wreckage of the king's stone and her fallen acolyte. She whirls towards me with madness in her eyes, her red cloak swirling behind her like a wave of blood. I try to run, but strong arms grab me from behind, and I am unable to move. Great Holgar, whose rage is endless, we offer you this blood of the sacrament to prove our devotion to you. Protect us from what is to come. The last thing I see in this world is the priest's exultant face, eyes wide behind the horned skull mask, as she brings the knife sweeping down and plunging straight into my heart. The bleak stones follow the priest's path. The casket has been opened. The priest performed the sacrament with the blood of the sacrifice, and her congregation was spared. But they soon learned that Holgar's bloodlust was never sated, and he cared little for them. It is only a matter of time before they turn on their leader. My part in this story, such as it was, is over. In the end, I was led astray by the promises of a dangerous fanatic, and I have paid the price. Ending 3, Divine Retribution. A fatal error has been made. Death and darkness cover the land. Alright, so Eli White was cursed when the casket was opened. Verona Green is under the spell of the casket. Rebecca Rose was cursed when the casket was opened. Barton Potter was cursed when the casket was opened. Edmund Bishop is alive. He read the signs and fled before catastrophe struck. Francesca Robertson, the doctor, is alive. She survived the devastation after the casket was opened, but she is a shell of her former self. Bonnie Robertson is still insane. Audrey Bell is alive, clinging to power in a bleak new world for now. Jack Hungerford is insane and never recovered. Thaddeus White is alive and ashamed of the part he played. Simone Green is alive and hiding out in the Wordsworth Library. And Jupiter is alive, resilient and resourceful, surviving and thriving. Alright, well, everyone's alive in this ending, which I guess is a good thing, but most of them are cursed, and we have brought the end of the world. So I don't know how good that is, but okay. But if I'm dead, how can I continue in the epilogue? Oh, well, I guess I can. So the day 19 epilogue is so that you can keep playing and formally identify all of the rest of the objects that remain unidentified in the shop. Yep, Tess Sherwood comes in. Okay, so I've already done this in my previous playthrough. I'm not going to do it again. If you'd like to see day 19, you can check that out on my Strange Antiquities playlist. Let's reload and do the other possibility. Instead of choosing St. Cedric's Thunder, let's try Corvan's Might. Alright, Corvan's Might, or the Eagle's Gift, is this object right here that looks like an eagle's claw holding a bloodstone. Dark green or black with flecks of red, a dark stone for dark purposes. Let's use it. I brandish the Corvan's Might, hoping that the threat will be enough to deter the priest, but she whirls toward me with madness in her eyes, her red cloak swirling behind her like a wave of blood. She lunges at me faster than I am ready for, and I barely manage to avoid the blade as her arm comes scything towards me. On her second attack, the weaving edge plunges into my shoulder, and I cry out in pain, but somehow I keep hold of the bloodstone totem in my other hand. With one last desperate act, I conjure Corvan's power and direct it at the crazed priest. There is a bright flash, and I am sent reeling backwards. The priest crumples to the floor, dead. A cheer goes up around the circle, and I am horrified to see an acolyte run forward and dip the weaving edge in the priest's blood. I shudder to see their coldness laid bare. These people do not care who is sacrificed to save their skins, as long as it is not them. The acolyte takes the dripping red blade and plunges it into the casket, and the world goes black. The casket has been opened. We fulfilled the sacrament and were spared, but with the priest dead, the spell has been broken and the congregation has begun to splinter. I was never really one of them, but there are some who look to me for leadership now. They seem to think I am more dangerous than I really am. I shudder to think what will happen when they find out I am not. Ending 4, Holgar's Wrath. I put my trust in a serpent-tongued priest and a vengeful god. I must reap the consequences. And the consequences are that Eli White is cursed. Again, Verona Green is cursed. Rebecca Rose and Barton Potter are all cursed. Edmund Bishop fled. Francesca survives. Bonnie's insane. Audrey Bell is deceased. Killed by your own hand during the sacrament ceremony. Jack Hungerford still insane, never recovered. Thaddeus White alive and ashamed. Simone Green hiding in the library, and Jupiter alive and well. Right, well, that's not a great ending. Maybe there's a possibility at some point in the imagined future that we could lift the curse from these people. And let's see if we proceed to the epilogue again. I'm assuming that we do. Yep, there we are. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. Please leave a like or subscribe if you're so inclined. I especially want to thank my channel members. They help keep this channel going, and I appreciate it so much. I'm a small channel, and I love to play indie games, but a lot of indie games don't get a lot of attention, so my channel remains small. I appreciate all the support I can get, and I appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourselves. Until next time. Bye.